everyone, it's Kim, and welcome back to Read It and Eat. Welcome back to Read It and Eat. I apologize for the 2-week hiatus. I was doing really well posting consistently, and I was very busy with the Read It and Eat book fair. If you're from the Buffalo area, you'll know that the Read It and Eat book fair was on Independent Bookstore Day on Saturday, April 29th. We had 1,100 guests come through to support local bookstores in the area, including some pop-up bookstores, my business Read It and Eat, and a total of 30 vendors. And we were able to raise over $1,000 to Wheatie to help support the chefs of the West Side Bazaar in Buffalo. So thank you so much. It is why I have been just a tiny bit busy, but I am back and it's well overdue. But I wanted to tell you about the 4 books I read in April. So as I mentioned, I read 4 books in the month of April. I have noticed that my reading has slowed down a little bit, but that book fair took a lot of time and brain power. But Dan and I are heading to Seattle at the end of the month, so I've got some long plane rides, so plenty of reading to do. Let me start with the 2 fiction books that I read. The first book I read was for the Read It and Eat book club, and it is The Magic of Lemon Drop Pie. This is by Rachel Linden. This was for my book club that I have every month locally in Buffalo. This book came out in 2022 and comes in just under 300 pages. Oh, I lied. It comes in over 300 pages at 331 pages. This is a paperback. I bought this used, and there is a recipe at the end of the book to make the lemon drop pie. So this story is all about Lolly. She is the older sister of 2 sisters, and she is in her early 30s and is a little bit stuck. She has just found a letter from her childhood with all of these dreams and goals that she had hoped to accomplish for herself, and she has found that she has accomplished none of them. But a big plot device or moment in this is that she lost her mother pretty young in her life, and put a lot of her own dreams aside to, in her mind, take care of the family. And now she's in her 30s feeling very woe is me and stuck. And what is she going to do about it? She's decided she's going to make a change with the help of some magic lemon drops. These lemon drops come from her great aunt. There's 3 lemon drops, and each of which will allow her to live a single day in a life that could have been hers. So she decides to live in a world where her mother was alive for one more day, a world where her high school sweetheart got away. And so in that world, she's married to him. And then a third world where she did get to move to England to open her dream restaurant. With the final lemon drop, she can choose that maybe she will go and live one of these lives that what could have been. I really liked this book. It has just the right level of magical realism for me. So oftentimes when I'm reading nonfiction, it's heavy, it's thick, there is a lot to digest. Sometimes I need something cozy that is just enough magic that maybe it could happen to me, but not enough that I completely think, I don't believe any of this. It's somewhere around the world of ABC family movies where there's just a little bit of whimsy and twinkle in your eye and you think it could happen. I liked it. I would read other books from Rachel Linden as well. She does have other books like The Enlightenment of Bees. I haven't read any others. I don't know if they are all about food, but this is a wonderful book. Lolly also has dreams of opening her own restaurant, her own something food related, and currently works in her family-owned diner. So if you're looking for the cozy family diner vibes, family recipes, this is definitely gonna hit that spot. I could see a young Hollywood actress in her late 20s, because Lolly's about to turn 33, eating up a role like this. Would it be an Oscar-winning role? No, probably not, but it would be such a sweet movie to also see as well. The second book I have for you in the fiction department is actually a romance. I got this for my birthday back in October, so I am still working on my backlist, which I'm proud of. I am proud of getting books off my shelves. And this is the second in the Bake Off series. This is Paris Dallencourt is About to Crumble by Alexis Hall. So if you have read the book Rosaline Palmer Takes the Cake, this is the second book in that universe. So Paris is a contestant on Bake Off, which is a very thinly veiled version of the Great British Baking Show. And Paris is a recipe for disaster. This definitely deals with Paris having undiagnosed mental illnesses that are discussed in the book. And Paris is interested in Tariq. Tariq is Muslim. He is also a contestant on the show as well. And Paris really likes this guy and is maybe gonna self-sabotage everything because he doesn't think anyone could like him or love him. I loved this relationship. I loved the growth that I saw in it. And also there was tons of food. It's Bake Off. So if you are a fan of the Great British Baking Show, I think you would love these books. I'm glad that Alexis Hall continued this series. So this is not the same season of Bake Off as Rosaline Palmer's season. This is the next season. So there are Easter eggs and references and returning characters like on the production side. People who produce the show are returning characters and it's really fun to see. I'm almost wondering if one of those production characters will have their own role or own book one day. I don't really know. I don't see it working, but it would be kind of fun. I would also love to keep seeing Easter eggs of these characters returning each season because they're the production team. Really enjoyed this. Enjoyed the representation, both mental illness, anxiety, panic disorders, but also a same-sex relationship, a mixed race relationship. So there's a lot in here to love, and there's also really great recipes as well. Now on to the nonfiction, because it wouldn't be Read It and Eat if there wasn't some foodie nonfiction to read. So first up, I have On the Noodle Road. This is by Jen Lin Liu. This author might sound familiar because I have read and reviewed another book by Jen. So if you remember part of my Unwrap My TBR series, I read the book Serve the People, A Stir-Fried Journey Through China, and that was by Jen Lin Liu. This is her second book, and this is also a memoir. It is about her first year of marriage with, oh my gosh, what is her husband's name? Peter? So this is Jen Lin Liu's second book. This is also a memoir. It is From Beijing to Rome and With Love and Pasta, and it is about Jen in the next stage of her life. As a newlywed traveling in Italy, Jen Lin Liu was struck by culinary echoes of the delicacies she ate and cooked in China, where she'd lived for more than a decade. Who really invented the noodle, she wondered, like many before her. But also, how had food and culture moved along the Silk Road, the ancient trade route linking Asia to Europe, and what could still be felt in those age-long migrations? With her husband's blessing, she set out to discover for herself, eating a path through Western China and into Central Asia, Iran, and Turkey, and across the Mediterranean. The journey takes Lin Liu into private kitchens where the headscarves come off and the women not only knead and simmer but also confess and confide. The thin rounds of dough stuffed with meat that are dumplings in Beijing evolve into manti in Turkey. Their delicacy, the measure of a bride's worth, and as tortellini in Italy. As she stirs and samples, listening to the women talk about their lives and longings, Lin Liu gains a new appreciation for her own marriage and learns to savor the sweetness of love chosen freely. So this book did come out in 2013. It is on my back. Like I said, it's been on my shelves. And I'm really excited to read it. The book is broken up. Ooh, sorry, the book cover's falling off. Into different areas of her journey. So you are able to see that she goes through China, Central Asia, Iran, Turkey, and Italy. Now, as someone who is half Iranian, I really actually enjoyed learning about what is the influence of noodles in the Middle East. It was actually really interesting because I grew up with rice. Rice was the starch of choice. It always is the starch of choice. So the role of dumplings in Turkey, which is nearby, the role of noodles and some noodle dishes, the role of seasoning. It was a really interesting book. I did listen to this as an audiobook. I bought this copy used at Open Books for $6.50. So is it a little bit duplicative? Yeah, I did listen to it. I am trying to use my Scribed and don't buy books from Audible. So I'm trying to use Scribd instead, or you can always use Libro FM or Libby to support your local public library. I liked the book. I actually think I liked her first book more, Serve the People, and the history of stir fry. I think I liked that journey because it actually was in one place. This is definitely travel writing, and it makes sense. We're learning about noodles in different countries, in different parts of the world, but there was something about it, and I think it was because of Jen's insecurity in her own marriage that I sometimes felt detracted from the story. So it almost didn't have enough research the way I was expecting it to for the history of noodles. But it is a memoir, it is a personal journey, and you do get to hear a lot about the different relationships of the different women that she meets along the way. But I almost felt like there was one too many messages. Like, did you want this to be about a reflection of women in the kitchen and understanding the patriarchy and different marriages and different expectations, or do you really want to learn about the noodles? It's not a bad book. I just preferred her other book more. I felt it was more concise and more, not concise, woven together more. This felt a little meandering at times. But the good thing about this is because she travels to different parts of the world, you can pick up a book and read parts about China, put the book down, and come back to it later if you want to then go to the Middle East in the next part of the book. So not my favorite, but glad I read it and got another book off my back shelf. And the final book that I read in the month of April is definitely my favorite book of the month, and one of the favorite books I've read so far this year. Tastemakers, 7 Immigrant Women Who Revolutionized Food in America. First off, really beautiful cover. Second, I think I have this as a signed copy. I do. So this is by Mayuk Sen. I bought this from Kitchen and Letter Arts in New York City. I did buy this as a brand new book, and I really loved it. It is an anthology. It is about 7 women and their unique role and influence in American cuisine. The important part about the book is that most of these people are not as famous as some of the other women who are considered culinary icons in American cuisine. They are not Julia Child, which I appreciated. Give me the underdog story any day. So, and my camera battery is going to die. I'll be right back. Fresh camera battery. We are back. So I was talking about Tastemakers. Probably one of my favorite books I've read so far this year. 7 women who revolutionized food in America who might not have gotten their flowers the way Miss Julia Child has. I did listen to this as an audiobook. I listened to it with Dan when we drove down to see my family for Easter, so we listened to it there and back. The book comes in just shy of 8 hours, and excluding the extensive research in the back, the book comes in at 165 pages. He has tons of notes, this author, notes and sources and an index. So Mayuk Sen is a James Beard and IACP award-winning writer. His work has been anthologized in 2 editions of the Best of American Food Writing. He teaches food journalism at New York University and lives in Brooklyn, New York. So first off, I want to go get a degree in food journalism. That sounds freaking exciting. Probably a butt ton of money because it's NYU. So Tastemakers, really cool cover, 7 different women. And these women are, let me just read the inside for you. A powerful retelling of America's modern culinary history, Tastemakers honors 7 women, all immigrants who left a powerful retelling of America's modern culinary history. Tastemakers honors 7 women, all immigrants who left an indelible mark on the way Americans eat today. Chow Yang Bue, Elena Zelayeta, Madeline Kaman, Marcella Hazan, Julie Sani, and Najmeh Botmanjali, Botmangli, and Norma Shirley, who shaped the country's appetite for cuisine and around the world. This eclectic debut from James Beard Award winner Mayuk Sen begins just after World War II, when the country underwent a food revolution. Loosening immigration laws brought a new crop of chefs and food writers to American shores. They carried no shame about the foods of their homelands, only pride. Among this wave of new culinary creatives, 7 women stood out. Chow Yang Bue authored America's first watershed Chinese cookbook. Mexican-born Elena Zeleta became a celebrity chef after losing her sight as an adult. Madeleine Caman emerged as a brilliant, misunderstood doyen of French cooking, who was often paired as a rivalry to Julia Child. So it was a very interesting read, especially that one. Julie Sani advocated for the glories of Indian food. Najime Batmangli, writing in exile, self-published Iranian cookbooks, and Norma Shirley championed Jamaican dishes. Animated by exhausting archival research and original reporting, this stirring group biography illuminates each woman's challenges and eventual triumphs in imaginative, lively prose. Tastemakers dares to ask why some women are famous in their own time, but not in ours, and why others shine brightly even today. In celebrating this collective of extraordinary minds, Sen, a queer brown writer born to Bengali immigrants, also offers a bracing critique of the American media and the voices it chooses to remember. Weaving together histories of food, immigration, and gender, Tastemakers will challenge the way you will look at what's on your plate and the women whose labor, often overlooked for so long, makes those meals possible. So, there's a lot to unpack in there. First, I am always going to be biased and say Najime's section, as an Iranian woman, was really powerful for me to read. She came to America during the fall of the Shah, she came to America in a very similar pattern that my father had come to America. And being in exile, not being able to go back to her homeland, knowing that her children would never see where she grew up, was very, very powerful for me and re-anchored me. There is so much about my father's life that I didn't get a chance to ask him about. You think when you're 31 that you're gonna have your parents for much longer. And unfortunately, that's not the case for me. So every time I get to read a perspective around the time that my dad would have had come to America, it's super powerful. Even if it's plus or minus 10 years, it's still super powerful. The immigrant experience is always powerful to me. I love stories about the immigrant experience coming to America. So first off, boom, the immigrant experience. 7 female chefs and their immigrant experience, boom, love this book. Having an Iranian writer and a woman who makes Iranian cookbooks, boom, love this even more. 6 other powerful women with different cuisines and points of views and journeys, boom, love this even more. I think the thing I loved the most and want more of is the critique of American media and food journalism. Why is it Craig Claiborne picked certain women or reviewed certain chefs and restaurants that catapulted them into fame and fortune, a la like a Julia Child? And why were some of these women forgotten? Why were some of these women who self-published their own books, that laid the groundwork for other culinary diaspora and culinary cookbooks, why are they forgotten? When some, maybe, not even maybe, why is Julia Child remembered? Because she was a white woman, and that is the truth. This book is so thoroughly researched, it's astounding. And there were people that he wanted in this book that he cut because he wanted to get interviews from the woman's mouth, from the first person point of view, even if that woman is no longer alive. So what I mean is interviews where she is speaking a culinary point of view, not a reporter interpreting it, but what she is saying, coming straight from her mouth, her soul, her embodiment. And I was just so impressed that there's a good 30 pages, it feels like, of the end of the book that is just his research and his notes. It's astounding work of food journalism. I'm so glad it's autographed. I loved it. It is now out in paperback as well. I obviously have a hardcover version. I have it signed, but you can pick it up as an audiobook as well or a paperback, but it is such a good read. It is short, especially in the printed version. I highly, highly recommend you pick up Tastemakers, read about these 7 amazing women. And the great part is, again, it's an anthology. You can read about one woman and come back to it in a couple of days if you want. We listened to it over the course of 2 days on our road trip, and it was just enough. So sometimes we would take a break. We would actually get to the end of each woman's story, then pause, look at each other and go, wait, let's discuss. Let's talk about this. And some of it just makes you so mad because these women deserved better. They deserved their flowers. They deserved to be remembered forever. And now we have that in this book. So I am super glad I read it. I highly recommend you put this on a much anticipated TBR. Put it on your list. It's worth the read. Okay. 4 books, but some really good ones in the month of April. I currently am reading a book about eggs and a couple other nice, sweet little romance books as well for the month of May. And like I mentioned, I'll be traveling at the end of the month, so I'm going to try and bank content so that I don't disappear for another 2 weeks. But I appreciate your patience as always. Don't forget to follow me over on Instagram at Read It and Eat Box so that you can see all the amazing things that I have going on with my business. If you don't know about Read It and Eat, I curate culinary adventures with my book boxes by pairing books and food together with a donation to fight hunger here in Buffalo, New York. I hope you're well. Check out the website too. Turn on the notification bell, because if I disappear like this again, you're gonna want that little bell to tell you I am back in town in the Booktube space. I hope you're well. I hope you're reading something great and eating something delicious, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.